You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
All right, James Mennie is over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, not really sure where to start today, so why don't you tell me where you'd like to start?
Well, we'll start at the very beginning. First of all, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see you brought such lovely weather with you.
We did.
And I'm sure that there'll be at least one party hopping up and down in St. Henry, St. Anne tonight because of this weather, which I think may well be the Liberals. It's listen.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Really? Because we were talking about this earlier.
Like I just pulled a rabbit out of
Well,
a hat,
because we were
Natasha.
chatting about this earlier, Jim, and Natasha was asking, who do you think? I said, you know what? I think the surprise here may be Quebec Solidaire. I know it's very, very close, but
It'll be very low voter turnout, I figure, any which way.
Well, that doesn't exactly favor the Liberals, and that's the other thing, guys. Because in the past, and I've been guilty of this as well. We always talk about, you got to look out for that Liberal ground game. There ain't no Liberal ground game. The Liberal ground game is sitting in the green room with the Soviet military, which was supposed to be such a big deal as well. It no longer exists. And the other thing you have to bear in mind, quite apart from the fact that the polls are saying it's close, whether I think if you are an older voter, which usually the Liberals rely upon, you might think twice about going out in this garbage for a by-election. And the other element here, and I don't think we're hearing enough about that, we hear about how hungry Quebec Solidaire is because of what's on the line here. They win this seat, they get 12 seats, they have official party status, whoop-de-doo. But the other thing is, why are we having this by-election in the first place? It's not because of some force majeure. It's because the Liberals themselves decided to eviscerate themselves publicly after a general election, after they had a terrible showing in the general election, essentially point the finger at Dominique Anglade. All of these, we were there, guys. I mean, they were coming out of the woodwork, sniping at her, and she got out so fast. I thought she'd at least wait till December. She got out as quickly as possible. The election was at the start of October. First week in November, poof, she's gone. And by the way, I won't be hanging around. I'll be leaving as of December 1st. I'm not entirely sure this is what you call a morale builder in terms of motivating people to go out and vote, motivating people to go out and campaign. Nothing against the Liberal candidate. I've heard him on the show. He sounds very committed. He's there. He's in the fight. But I think perhaps, given the increasing talent for the Quebec Liberal Party to find new ways to shoot itself in the foot, I'm not entirely sure we're going to see a Liberal victory tonight.
I will ask the one thing. I think I brought this up originally when we talked about the candidate, Mr. Benninger. You would have thought that in a riding that used to be held by the leader of your party, you might have tried to seek out a more high-profile person to run. There was no one to seek out, was there?
Well, no, and the problem is there still isn't anyone to seek out. Never mind this by-election down the road here. I don't think it's exaggerating things to say that tonight the future of the Quebec Liberal Party is pretty much on the line, because if you can't win in a riding, and what I've just said to one side, this riding has pretty much been Liberal since it was created. Now, the turnout, and even in general elections, has been a bit lower for Mme. Anglade, but before that, it was Marguerite Blais, who was just running the table on here and keeping it in the Liberal fold. Then she leaves the Liberals under something of a cloud. It wasn't good blood between her and the Liberal Party when she left. And now we have this entire psychodrama with Dominique Anglade. So I'm not entirely sure. Even if you had a name candidate, I know where you're going with this, Aaron, but I think even if you had a name recognizable, hey, I'd vote for that guy candidate. Right. Given the malaise, given this self-created dark cloud that's been hanging over the Quebec Liberals, I think anybody would have had a tough row to hoe, and I think we're going to see that tonight. As I say, they say that the polls are close, but I think Quebec Solidaire has an edge. I don't think it's going to be a blowout either way, but honestly, I think if I was betting, it's tight odds, but I'd put my money on Quebec Solidaire tonight.
Isn't it interesting how Dominique Anglade is already such a distant memory? Like, that just feels like ancient history.
Maybe for us. I don't know about the good people of St. Henry, St. Anne. And I'm not entirely sure, down the road when the time comes to try and resuscitate this party, that her specter, if you will be hovering over the Liberal Party, because this what do you call it? You call it a putsch. This ouster of Dominic Anglade from the Liberal Party. That's the kind of thing Pex used to do back in the day. The Liberals didn't engage in this kind of knife fighting, public knife fighting, and here we are. So right off the bat, we're talking about a fundamentally changed, Liberal Party, which is perceived as this, political institution. There's a lot on the line tonight, but as I say, I'm not entirely sure it's going to be there for them.
As you said that, Jim, I couldn't help think to myself, when the history is written, if Dominic Anglade is nothing more than a footnote in Quebec Liberal Party history.
A footnote, but one that will also, I think, be part of a larger entry, a larger footnote entry, because as far as I'm concerned, the entire malaise with the Liberals began with Philippe Couillard. And it has been, it began as a slight decline, and now it's like over the side of Niagara Falls at this point. They desperately need a win, but more than that, they need not a reinvigorated, a completely reinvented Liberal Party. The same way, and I don't say this lightly, I'm not a fan, the same way as François Legault reinvented politics in Quebec in 2018. Yeah. They have to reinvent that's how radical a reinvention has to occur with the Liberals if they intend to survive.
Yeah. Well, what is this about him reinventing himself as a podcaster?
Podcaster starts on Wednesday. You could have knocked me over with a feather when I saw this thing. He's touting it on his Facebook page, and I think, guys, this is another example of how François Legault, or indeed his advisors, have figured out a great way for this government, which wants to protect its base with the system we have. He's going to have a podcast. The first one's on Wednesday with Régine Laurent, who used to be head of one of the largest healthcare workers unions in Quebec. She was then named by the Legault government to head an inquiry into the youth protection services. And she's on, and it's like a little chat show. In fact, it has a title, which is Bonjour tout le monde, which is basically how he starts every press conference. That'll be his signature line. He actually promos this by saying, I'm anxious to show you my discussion, and I'm translating here, but it's the same kind of showbiz talk, with the one and only Régine Laurent.
Oh, wow.
And because it's on his Facebook page, right, anybody who wants to be snarky, they're not going to make the cut. But I guarantee you newsrooms are going to start monitoring this as well as his regular Facebook page, because it seems that François Legault has found a really nifty way to sidestep press conferences that perhaps he doesn't want to attend and get his message out unadulterated, unfiltered, direct from the supplier, as they say, to you.
I don't know. I think you're probably right. I think media will be all over this. I'm wondering how many people will actually take the time or have the inclination to go there to see this wonderful interview that he's about to do with someone who's in his back
nobody.
pocket. So.
But this is it, Aaron. All he has to do is throw the breadcrumbs out. Pigeons like me go out and peck at it.
Yeah, I got it.
We'll leave the pecking to you.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.
Adam.